Southern China is struggling under the assault of Super Typhoon Matmo, which has swept across the South China Sea with sustained winds of 160 to 80 kilometers per hour and gusts powerful enough to uproot massive trees, overturn buses, and rip concrete roofs from their foundations. The storm's course slammed into the mainland at nearly 120 kilometers per hour, leaving behind a massive trail of destruction, caused almost entirely by the typhoon's ferocious winds. On Hainan Island, Matmo's fury was almost unstoppable. Roofs were torn off within seconds, glass shattered from high-rise buildings, and thick steel beams twisted like wire. Giant billboards were ripped from their posts, flung into the air, and scattered amid the howling wind. Shards of glass rained down like blades from skyscrapers, blanketing empty streets. Power lines collapsed one after another, plunging entire neighborhoods into total darkness. On the Leju Peninsula in Guangdong Province, the storm's winds turned the ocean into a weapon. 5-meter-high waves pounded coastal defenses, destroying seawalls, shattering fishing fleets, and hurling cargo containers across port terminals like toys. Even reinforced concrete bridges shook violently, as though they might split apart at any moment. Forests of palm and banyan trees snapped in half, their trunks crashing across major roads. Rail services were suspended, highways became impassable, and numerous coastal industrial zones were ripped to shreds. For millions of residents, it was the longest night of their lives. Families huddled inside trembling walls, praying desperately as the storm screamed outside like a roaring jet engine. Parents wrapped their children in blankets, shielding them from flying debris. Windows exploded without warning, sending shards of glass slicing across rooms like invisible knives. In Haikou City, witnesses said the wind sounded like 1,000 hammers striking at once. One survivor described how the storm peeled the roof off my house like the lid of a can. Vehicles were lifted, flipped upside down, and tossed into flooded streets. Transformers exploded, showering the sky with blue sparks before neighborhoods plunged back into suffocating darkness. Offshore, fishermen who failed to evacuate in time clung desperately to piers and poles as their boats were torn to pieces and dragged into the raging sea. The devastation was unimaginable. Over 600,000 people were evacuated to storm-proof shelters, while more than 3 million residents were directly affected, enduring power outages, food shortages, and unsafe drinking water. Thousands of families lost their homes, their roofs and walls ripped away by the wind. Over 30,000 hectares of crops were destroyed, sparking growing fears of food scarcity in the weeks ahead. In response to the catastrophe, the Chinese government launched one of its largest emergency relief operations ever. Tens of thousands of soldiers and rescue workers were deployed across Hainan and Guangdong. Armed police cleared roads blocked by fallen trees, while helicopters swept low over devastated towns, searching for survivors stranded on rooftops or cut off by landslides. Authorities issued the highest level wind alerts, urging millions to remain indoors. Meanwhile, 2 billion yuan in emergency funds were released to restore electricity, repair power grids, and supply food and medicine to affected communities. Engineers worked around the clock to rebuild transmission lines, while medical teams established mobile hospitals in schools and sports arenas. Super Typhoon Matmo has once again proven that sometimes the deadliest force of nature is not water, but wind itself. The storm's violent gusts, strong enough to bend steel and topple entire cities, have left southern China in ruins, millions displaced, and a nation struggling to recover from nature's unrestrained fury.
Nature doesn't send us warnings, but we can. Floods, earthquakes, wildfires, and storms are striking harder and faster than ever before. By subscribing, you are not just watching, you are joining a movement to stay alert, stay informed, and helps others to do the same. Hit the subscribe now because the next disaster won't wait, and neither should you. Be ready and be aware.